You are stuck in a cycle. That is why you watch all of these motivational videos all the time. You tell yourself, okay, this is the year, this is the month. Starting this month, I'm going to start grinding, hustling more, and just sheer put my head down willpower, power through to create my desired reality. However, the reason behind why none of these tactics work is because of something called your consciousness. And now I know you're familiar with the term, but do you actually understand? Do you understand the inner workings of your psyche and everything that goes behind the scenes? Okay, this isn't one of those motivational videos going to tell you what to do and how to lock in and a bunch of quotes. I'm going to give you sheer practical advice, which has allowed me to make my transformation as well as a lot of my clients. What you need to understand is that your subconscious can either be your biggest enemy or your biggest asset, depending on how you feed it. Because researchers, psychologists, and scientists have all found that 95% of your daily actions, thoughts, and emotions are all just recycled loops, which goes from thought to emotion to action to experience, and then you base your next thought off of that experience, and you're stuck in this loop over and over and over again. And 95% of everything on a daily basis is just your subconscious. So if you're feeding your subconscious TikTok, social media, scrambling your brain signals, feeding it the wrong kind of food, the wrong kind of thoughts on a daily basis, you're making the mistake of feeding back into this creepy little loop, this creepy little rat race, which is why you can't see yourself on the other side. What is consciousness? The big question, okay? And to answer this question, we need to look at a few things. So the first thing I will say, to simplify, is consciousness basically is awareness in and of itself. Okay, so are you aware of your whole surrounding? Are you aware of what you are? Are you aware that you are a soul with a body and not a body with a soul? Are you aware of your thoughts and your emotions on a daily basis? And you basically have to frame it like the subconscious is the enemy, and are you on autopilot? So every day when you wake up, are you just on autopilot, repeating the same cycle of the same thoughts, habits, emotions, actions, perceptions on your daily life? Or are you that inner monologue that is guiding you through your daily life? And most people go wrong when they confuse that consciousness is their thoughts. And that is one of the biggest mistakes right there, because you are not the voice in your head. Okay, your inner monologue, what is telling you these thoughts, these emotions, and these habits is not your consciousness. Your consciousness is the objective observer of everything, the passerby, okay? So whenever you have these thoughts, these emotions, you need to work on it as it's a skill. Like in the gym, you got to work on your muscles to improve their strength, their size, and overall, gains. But we're looking for consciousness gains. So how many times a day are you able to wake up, so to speak? This is actually something that I invented myself. My own term is you want to wake up multiple times a day. Okay? Sorry for my handwriting. I'm working on it. Okay, so what does this mean? I used to wake up every day and not be woken up. You see, you can be so-called conscious when you arise from bed every morning and you think you're awake, you think you're in control of everything in your day, but it's actually that 95%, your subconscious. Okay, that old version, that old identity of you. And so the whole core message of this video and basically my channel is to, so to speak, out-strategize your old version of yourself. Don't let your old thoughts, habits, your whole old identity grab you every day and suck you back down to that level that you hate so much, that you want to change so badly. And so it doesn't start with the physical plane and, okay, what do I need to do? Okay, I need to do a cold shower, and I need to take my supplements, and then I need to go do this, and I should buy more stuff, and then I'll be locked in, right? That is all wrong. Okay, that is where every, fitness guy is going to tell you, but I'm not like that. I'm going to tell you from the root cause, not just the symptoms of your problems, but you need to look internally. Because that is like the secret of the universe, is that you are the universe, and everything within as without. Everything around you, your current reality, is only a reflection. And remember, it is a reflection of your internal state. So when you're feeding yourself good thoughts, good emotions, and you're aware and you're able to pick and choose and have control, ultimately being the master of your own reality, that is when everything externally starts to show up. And I will say this, it is not about adding a bunch of shit to your daily life. It is about subtracting negative things. So like I said, you could add a bunch of cold showers and routines and schedules and nerd out, but what it really comes down to, if you want to improve your life, is subtracting those old decrepit thoughts and ideas and identity that you have about yourself, those beliefs. I can't make this much money. I can't have love. I'm unworthy of love. I'm unworthy of social approval. I'm unworthy, it could be anything, to have my own business and make money. You need to kill those core beliefs. And so back to consciousness, I'm going to erase this really quickly. So I want to give you a simple analogy so that you can further understand what I am articulating. Is that, think about your life as a smartphone, okay? So this is the phone, and then on the phone you're going to have some apps, okay? I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm making some apps. And so with the analogy that if the smartphone is your life and you have these thoughts and these programs running constantly in your mind, then I want you to think about it. Where did my marker go? Well, it's right here. I want you to think about the entire screen is your consciousness. Okay, and then these apps are your program. Your social conditioning, your programming, your experiences, and what you feed your brain on a daily basis. So if you feed your programming with the news, with sports, with entertainment, with TikTok, social media, anything that isn't benefiting your life directly, like I said, you might not even remember it or be aware of it, but it is in your subconscious, and your subconscious remembers literally everything that you see. Okay? But your consciousness, you might not remember it, because remember, it's only 5% is willingly intentional decisions, but they will show up and manifest from the master, which is your subconscious. So in order to make any transformation, become aware, wake up multiple times a day, like I said, you need to pretty much just have the practice of stillness. And this can be meditating, this can be praying with God, which all that is, again, sitting alone with your eyes closed, no stimulation, just you, God, and your thoughts. Okay, that is one way to do it. Other than that, even if you're in, and this takes time and experience, but when you're in a whole dynamic, dichotomy, whatever, you want to frame it as waking up. Okay? Really waking up. Like, what is going on around me? What is this? What is any of this? Why am I here? What am I doing right now? Right now, I am making a YouTube video to spread a message, because that is aligned with who I am and where I want to go. Okay, I'm not out drinking, I'm not out partying, I'm not hungover watching football highlights, because all that is hedonistic and I know that's not where I want to be headed. So this is what I'm doing right now. I'm waking up, I'm realizing what I am doing. I'm sitting here talking to you on a camera. Okay, that's just an example. And it might sound autistic, but you need to do this multiple times a day, because otherwise you're doomed in the rat race. And now here is where it gets really crazy and where it's going to tie all together, so I hope you're still with me right at this point in the video. That means that you're locked in, you're aware, and you're conscious that this is going to improve your life if you are truly receptive and actually listening to what I'm saying. But we've been over this before on the channel, but in case you're new, you need to understand the levels to this, the levels of consciousness. And these can be often described in terms of vibration and frequency. And if you're saying, what the hell am I talking about? It is backed up by Heart State Institution, where they did a study for you college geeks who need information like that. But simply, they were able to detect that the human heart has an electromagnetic field that is detectable several feet outside of the human body. And now your energy, because remember, Nikola Tesla, one of the most brilliant men on the earth that ever lived, said if you want to understand the universe, you must think in terms of vibration, energy, and frequency. Okay, think about it like your cell phone or the towers and how there's invisible signals that you can't see or touch. Or think about it like this. You know how, there's forms of matter, okay? And even though something is a gas, you know that it's still there, right? You learn this in 3rd grade science class. It goes from, it can go from a gas to a liquid to a solid, okay? Same thing with your thoughts. You can't see or touch them or even smell them, which is weird, but you know that they're there. You know that it is manifesting in time, and in time it'll go from gas form, it's not really a gas, but you can't see it, right? For the sake of the analogy, from a gas to a solid, then it materializes in your physical realm, okay? So, with the levels of consciousness, what I need you to understand is that pretty much you can either be vibrating at a high vibration, medium, or low, which is probably why you're watching this video. But it's okay. With practice, all of this can be changed. So that's a high vibration. Maybe this is a medium, and maybe this is low. Okay, so for the sake of some examples, for high vibrational, you are connected to the infinite intelligence. You are connected to God. This is courage, acceptance, love, joy. Maybe medium is anger, desires, pride. You're almost there. You're on the right path, but these are still all ego-based. And remember, your ego, all that it is being a human. It's part of being human, is that you're going to be on survival mode, and you have this sense of yourself and your identity and your friends, and you have a name, and you're in this space, and everything's physical realm. This is just why we're here. You don't question your existence. You're almost there though. You're on the right path. At least you're not down here, because down here is hell. Okay, we can compare this to heaven. And this is talked about in the Bible. Everything is just an analogy for this, because heaven and hell, I believe, are on earth. Okay? There's no way to tell what happens when we die, or if there is an afterlife, and I am a Christian, but I believe it's all an analogy that the higher you vibrate, the higher your energy and your output, and the higher you're connected to God, then you're in a state of bliss. You're peaceful, And it's all, true wealth, all that it is peace of mind, okay? You can afford with the money, which is just the stored energy and time of people, you are able to then afford the peace of mind. That is ultimately your desire's desire. Your desire isn't the money, okay? When you're vibrating this high, my desire isn't money or fame or any of these nice things that come with it. It's simply that state of being connected to God. But hell is going to be where you might be at right now, where you hate everything. And hell comes from things like shame, guilt, doubt was a huge one for me. So anytime you feed yourself, because remember, you're in control no matter how fucked up your situation is. I don't care. I've been there. You are the master, and you can start to reprogram, your thoughts, what you consume, what you don't consume, getting off of your phone, being aware, cutting off the friends that are not good for you, building yourself up, everything like that. So the goal is to transcend. So remember the analogy we were talking about with, well, not even an analogy really, it's facts, that your heart has an electromagnetic field that is detectable by energy, or an EKG, or any of these medical things. So I drew a little heart. I'm getting better at the drawings. But let's say that you're operating at low frequency, okay? So think about it as this first wave right here. I don't really know the statistics, but let's say, maybe your energy is only outputting a foot, okay? So this is literally metaphysically accurate, is that you're not able to think about the smartphone. If your vibration, you have shitty connection, you're not able to connect, and your thoughts and emotions are poor, and you're vibrating low, then you're only going to attract those low frequency things. You'll never be able to download love, success, abundance, peace of mind, any of those things when you're trapped and stuck in your old frequency. Okay? And remember, this one quote is that manifestation is a revelation, not a creation. You're not creating anything, you're just revealing what is already within you by connecting with Christ. But once you're able to get your energy out there, then you're instantly 5G data connected to the infinite intelligence, God, and you're able to effortlessly attract these opportunities, attract whatever it is you are seeking. Your desire's desire, remember, it's not these physical things. Forget about all of that. Forget about your ego. Put all that aside. What you are chasing is these states of being, your consciousness. Okay, so next up we have consciousness creates your reality. And now I want to start this off with a little theoretical, but it'll all make sense. So I don't know if you've heard of this, but the whole story of, or philosophical question I should say, is that if nobody is observing, if there's a random tree in a forest, think about it, absolutely nobody is there, and a tree falls down, did the tree really fall down, or did it even make a noise? Because the observer, your consciousness, is not there. There's no humans to tell. If you can pick up what I'm saying, is that your consciousness and your ability to observe is what literally influences matter and why it is happening. So again, if no one was there to hear the tree collapse, did the tree really even collapse, or did the tree make a sound? Because there's no observer. You know what I mean? It's a theoretical thing because there's no way to really test it. I mean, cameras and stuff, but then you're still hearing, you're still observing. I hope I'm making sense and not just blabbing. But I have a point here to make. So in quantum mechanics, it is known that particles exist in a probability, okay? If you look at an atom, you can kind of predict, okay, well, where are these electrons going to go? But if you're not observing them, like we said, then they don't exist. So they're in a state of probability until they are observed by the scientists, by the consciousness, by whatever. So this basically in simple terms means that your consciousness shapes your physical reality. And elite athletes, business owners, entrepreneurs all know this, or maybe they don't. But your brain cannot tell. Oh my God, my handwriting. That looks like a bad word right there. All the UK people probably like, what the hell? This boy's writing some crazy obscenities. But your brain cannot tell difference of vivid visualization and reality. And this is scientifically backed, because the same neural pathways when you're experiencing the real physical thing are being activated as when you are simply in a state of visualization. This is why athletes will always say, you know, Kobe was big on this, MJ. I'm not even a basketball guy, but I can respect the fact that they were into this stuff. I was a wrestler in high school. I never played basketball. But besides the point is that they understand that to manifest or to, you know, create their reality, they need to be in a state of vivid, intense visualization. I talk about this in multiple of my videos, is that you must experience it as it is already true and then attaching that emotion, because remember, emotions are very important as well. So not just visualizing, but vividly visualizing that car you want, that state of mind, that giving back to your family, the smiles on their faces, the tears running down their face, the emotion that you feel, that sense of joy, that sense of wealth and abundance. Putting yourself in that state, you're literally collapsing, like I said, the tree. You are the one that is observing and creating that into your reality. Now, that might have made no sense to you, but I'm going to give you this analogy. Okay, so you know how not everyone, you know how there's theories out there that, you know, what if we are just in a simulation? What if everything is just a video game? We're in this cog in this machine ran by some aliens, or whatever you want to say. It's a simulation. Okay, reality, you've heard that, is a simulation. So I want you to think about it. Now, I was talking with my friend about this, is that life, you can pretty much make an analogy that life is pretty much like GTA. Okay? And whoever's controlling you, which ultimately is your consciousness, is your controller. Okay? So let me draw that out. Xbox, of course. I never played PlayStation. It's kind of gay if you did. But let's say that this controller right here is your consciousness. Okay? And your consciousness, remember, is controlling your character. And so, if you're in GTA, like we said with the tree analogy, me and my friend talk about this all the time. It's like, if you're not in what you can see, okay, right now I'm in a room right now, downstairs. But how do I know that upstairs is like actually rendered in HD and even there? Like we said with the observer and these philosophical things, we don't even know that. So, if you're a GTA character and you're walking around and you're focusing on certain things, doing certain activities in video games and graphics and everything, the rest of the map in GTA isn't even rendered. It's not there, it's all blurry, it's not rendered because, you know, you're not there. And you know when it lags and you're running around and then it slowly starts to render and the graphics get better and everything. That is your consciousness shaping your reality, because when you are focused on stress and guilt and lack and shame and doubt and all these negative things, then your consciousness shapes your reality to lack and all of those things. But as your GTA character, if you're focusing on the right things, if you're focusing on God, getting away from the noise, building up your brand, building a business, helping other people, building your body, building your thoughts, and forgetting about everything else, then that is the reality you're going to shape. When you constantly tell yourself, I'm going to be successful, I am already successful, because remember, you cannot want and have at the same time, which is annoying. So just remember from this that the observer effect is very real, and what you focus on consistently and constantly with vivid, intense visualizations will collapse into your physical reality. It just takes enough time and enough conscious awareness of waking up multiple times a day, realizing you are the master. So manifestation is not magic. All that it really is resonance. Okay? So every thought you send out electrically has an electric signal. And every feeling or emotion that you send out has a magnetic field, like we learned. Okay? And so the combination of these two, the electrical signal from your thoughts and the magnetic field from your feelings, create your frequency. And then with this frequency shows in your state of being, the certain outcomes in your life, the physical desires you're looking for. And so where most people go wrong because sure, they can think certain things. You can think rich, you can visualize being rich, but deep down, if you don't really feel it, then your subconscious is going to win. You're going to have mixed signals, mixed frequencies. If you're trying to tune into hip hop, but you're listening to country, you don't get mad. You simply switch the tune to tune in to what you want. And so you have control over your feelings. You have control over your thoughts. And the combination of the two is what is going to get you out of this hell. So this ties together with the whole idea of you don't chase women, money, wealth, health, success. You simply just tune into where all of those things already exist within your own psyche, within, as without. I'm going to say that several times throughout this video. And what you need to understand is your perception matters a ton. Because if your perception is that you're anticipating and you're expecting failure with anything deep down, if that's how you really feel, then you're going to see the physical evidence to confirm it in your physical realm. You're going to look at these certain things that get in your way physically in your life, these certain circumstances, you're going to look at that as failure. Oh, my business didn't make any money. It didn't work. No one's biting on my ad. Nobody cares about my business, or nobody loves me. So, okay, I'm looking at that and I'm perceiving it as it is failure. Although other people, when they change their perceptions, their core beliefs, which is the crazy thing about all of this, is you can control. You can perceive anything however you want. So the same things that happen, if you see the same things as failure, but you reprogram yourself as you're perceiving it as a door, this is an opportunity. Good. You know, that's what I do. Whenever I have a failure like that, I think to myself, you know, what is God trying to teach me? That's how I frame it. Or I say, you know what? Good, because all that success is bouncing from one failure to the next without the loss of enthusiasm. Okay? I perceive it that way. Whenever I have a failure or anything gets in my way, you know, those two things. Okay, what is God trying to teach me? Or, okay, I'm hyped. Just one step closer to success. But other people can perceive it the exact negative way, and that's why you give up and go back to your old frequency, which we're trying to kill. Okay, so now we're going to get into the practicality of it all. So how, you're probably wondering, how can I reprogram this consciousness of mine? And I wrote down a few things I don't expect you to be able to read. I realize I wrote a little small. Again, reps, over and over. I'm right there with you. I'm going to get better at it for you guys. But meditation. This is simply your awareness reps. Remember how I said wake up multiple times a day. So when you're meditating, when you're praying, when you're sitting with your thoughts, you're sitting with God, that is basically breaking you out of the autopilot zombie mode several times a day. While everyone else is stuck in that, you are able to be almost in third person, observing everything. And it's going to break your negative programming. Because this is what truly the PSYOP doesn't want, is people to get close to God and people to realize that there is something more, there's something beyond just everything we've been psychologically programmed with. So meditation, do that at least once or twice a day, 15 minutes, you'll get better at it. I like to do one on YouTube before I go to bed. It is Dr. Joe Dispenza. I can maybe link it in the description for you if you're interested. Visualization, okay? This is just rehearsing your desired reality into your subconscious as it is already familiar. So when you're visualizing what you want, and remember we said, it is almost more powerful. You can visualize the physical things, but visualize how that feels. Visualize how it feels to be sitting in that dream car with that dream girl, with whatever it is that you want, okay? That dream job, that dream opportunity, you're in the NFL, whatever it is that you want. Rehearsing it, because it is almost as if your brain, like we said, cannot tell a difference between real physical experiences or play and imagination, right? We have imagination for a reason, and it's to visualize and, get your subconscious familiar with it, because like we said, the battle here is winning that subconscious mind. You can't change it. You can't make your brain automatically 95% conscious, 5% subconscious. It just doesn't work that way. But what you can do is program your subconscious with only good shit, with only good programming, so then it'll show up in your conscious, intentional decisions throughout the day. Gratitude is the biggest hack, because that is the highest vibration, like we talked about, feeling. Okay, so when you practice gratitude multiple times a day, you wake up and it can be as simple as, feel your heart beating. I am so thankful every morning that God chooses to keep me alive, to keep beating my heart, to keep my lungs expanding. What an opportunity, what a blessing it is to even just be alive. Simple as that, I already have food in my house. There's kids in Syria who are dying and getting bombed, and it could be a lot worse, but I have all these things. And really sit with that feeling and sit with how good that makes you feel, because then you're tricking your subconscious to, you already have everything. You already have it figured out. You already have it. Okay? So tell your subconscious you already have it. This goes with the visualization. And it's almost like a good type of delusional. And then embodiment. This is the physical action. Okay? So you're tricking your brain again by acting as if. So on your day-to-day life, when you install these new beliefs about yourself, the conviction you hold, then you have to already act as if. And this could be delusional, if you're already acting like you're a millionaire, you're already acting like you're successful, you have to be before you can have. Understand this. Before you can have what you want, the desired reality, you must be the person that already has that. So envision, okay, what does this version of me, let's say 5 years from now, he has all the things I want. I wonder what actions and how he's talking, how he's dressing, his mannerisms, what he's doing on a daily basis. What is he doing? You don't wait. You don't just get there by having the same habits and thoughts and emotions as 99% of people. Well, how you're going to get there is by already acting as if you're there. And then, the time gap, then you're going to wake up one day and be like, oh my God, I'm a G. I always was a G. I always told myself before I had any money, before I had any physical things, I was a G. Conor McGregor, Tate, any of these guys, they all said the same thing. And now I'm just going to tie everything we talked about together to have you understand why this unlocks everything in your life. So as for fitness, if you're at that low vibration like we talked about, you're going to frame your workouts and your nutrition and everything like that for your physical body. You're going to view that as a punishment. You're not going to want to go to the gym, which is then going to have low adherence, which means you're never going to show up to the gym, and even if you do, you're going to half-ass your reps and your sets and everything. But it's almost like you have to fall in love and have that bigger vision, that bigger picture, because I've been there and I love working out. But, but there's been points in my life where I was like, I don't even want to. What's the point in this? But it wasn't until I created that huge, bigger vision for myself that it is way beyond just me and my ego and my body. It is a part of that dream reality that I want. So every time I'm in the gym, I'm literally collapsing timelines, collapsing my reality, my potential, and I frame it as that. And then if you're in love with the process, then you're going to get there. Instead of, oh, I sucks and I'm a low vibration, I'm expecting failure, and I've been working out for months and I'm still not growing. That's a weak mindset, weak mentality, and you're never going to actually do the work because it seems like a punishment. As for wealth, scarcity is like crappy internet, okay? Even if opportunities exist for you, your bandwidth cannot process them and you're not aware. But through intentionally with your high vibration, which is the fiber optic internet, your consciousness, you are going to notice, spot, and act upon opportunities a lot faster. As for love and women, if you are at a low vibration and your heart, your electromagnetic field, women can sense that and it repels them. If you're at a low frequency, they can sense that subconsciously, believe it or not. If you're a bum, not taking care of yourself, not prioritizing any of these things as a man, that female is going to know intrinsically, consciously or subconsciously, and it's going to repel them away. Neediness, and I've been there, right? I've been there. But if you're dealing with insecurities and neediness as a man, and you're not sure of yourself and your mission, and you're constantly trying to chase women, you're only going to repel them. So as a man, it is your job to build yourself, build that beautiful garden, and then the butterfly will come to you. If you want to catch a fish, you don't jump in the water and go chase the fish and try to, no, you don't catch a fish like that. You build up your beautiful rod, you sit back, you build your body, you build your mind, you build your business, build all these things, work on only yourself, and then, like magic, all the women are attracted to you. That is how it is. And now the most important one of them all, your God or your sense of spirituality. When you're vibrating at this high level, you are literally tapped into the source, the infinite intelligence, God. And when you're in these higher states of vibration, you feel closer to God. And you realize that manifestation is simply about aligning yourself and getting yourself to that state. And I will say, even myself, I'm not a master of this. There are still times where I feel disconnected from God, disconnected from my infinite potential. So your consciousness is the hidden gear that shifts every visible aspect of your life. The wealth, the fitness, the love and women, and the everything in between. So when you shift the gear in every single area of your life, then every visible aspect will come to you. And now, thank you for watching. You successfully understand what your consciousness is, and that this is the real important thing. With all these other distractions, this God is really the ultimate thing that is going to bring you to success. Thank you for watching. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. There's going to be a lot more videos like this. And stay locked in with the divine order.